On a peaceful road trip across the country, Gabby Petito vanished without a trace. But what seemed like a simple disappearance quickly escalated into a tragic tale of betrayal, lies, and heartbreaking loss. As the world watched, the dark truth began to unravel. But it wasn't just a case of one young woman's death, it was a wake-up call to us all. This is the chilling story of Gabby Petito, and the shocking events that led to her untimely demise. But more than that, it's a story of injustice, unanswered questions, and a mystery that continues to haunt us. If you want to learn the full, untold details and what still remains unanswered, make sure you stick with us. Chapter 1. The Road Trip. Blue Point, New York. July 2, 2021. A quiet suburban neighborhood where dreams still live in white fences and family dinners. Gabby Petito is 22. Blonde hair, bright eyes, and a calm warmth in her voice. She had just quit her job at a local smoothie shop to chase something she couldn't find on Long Island freedom. She and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, had been together since high school. It was a storybook relationship, at least from a distance. The kind where teenage love carries into adulthood, sometimes by choice, sometimes by momentum. They moved to Florida to live with Brian's parents in Northport. It was supposed to be temporary. Gabby always talked about going west. Her dream. Living on the road. A minimalist lifestyle. Documenting every mile, every stop, every sunrise through the lens of a camera. Social media wasn't just for friends anymore, it was a tool. Their van life YouTube channel, Nomadic Static, was meant to grow into something more. A source of income. A brand. A purpose. Gabby outfitted the van herself. A white 2012 Ford Transit Connect. Compact, but cleverly arranged. A convertible bed in the back, a few cabinets and storage crates, curtains for privacy. It wasn't glamorous, but it was freedom on wheels. Freedom, of course, has a price. Before the trip, friends say Gabby was excited, but anxious. Not unusual, she had always been someone who felt things deeply. She wanted everything to be perfect. The trip wasn't just a vacation. It was a symbol of movement, of growth, of finally making something of herself. They leave Long Island behind. First stop, Kansas. Monument Rocks. Photos from the trip are vibrant. Wide-angle landscapes. Gabby in front of rock formations, smiling. Brian filming her as she twirls in the sand. No captions about conflict. No mentions of tension. But something begins to shift, quietly, underneath the feed. In Colorado, they visit Great Sand Dunes National Park. Then they make it to Zion. Bryce Canyon. Canyonlands. Each place is a postcard moment. But behind the smiles, there's an unspoken change. Gabby's best friend, Rose Davis, later tells investigators that the couple had been having arguments. Nothing explosive but frequent. Gabby would call home crying. She was stressed. Overwhelmed. Sometimes it was the pressure of the trip, other times it was Brian. According to Rose, Brian could be controlling. Possessive. He didn't like when Gabby spoke to other people. He'd take her ID to keep her from going out. Gabby would always play it down. Always try to justify it. She said he was just protective. She said it was love. But long road trips have a way of exposing people. There are no walls to hide behind. No separate rooms to cool off in. Just one van. One road. One person next to you, night after night. By the time they hit Utah, Gabby stops calling as often. Her social posts become less frequent. Her captions shorter. The color seems to fade from her digital footprint. She becomes quieter. Less visible. Then comes August 12th. Moab, Utah. A 911 call comes in. A man reports that he witnessed a domestic disturbance outside a co-op grocery store. He says he saw a male strike a female. The caller's voice is calm, but clear. He's certain of what he saw. Police locate the van shortly after. It's parked near the entrance of Arches National Park. They initiate a traffic stop. Gabby and Brian are inside. What happens next will be picked apart by millions. Bodycam footage from Officer Daniel Robbins shows Gabby sobbing. Her breathing is irregular. She wipes her tears and tries to explain. She says she has OCD. That she was just cleaning. That she got frustrated. She apologizes. Repeatedly. Brian, meanwhile, is composed. He scratches his head, chuckles at times. Says Gabby got worked up. That she scratched him during the argument. That she needs a break. The officers make a decision. They separate the two for the night. Gabby sleeps in the van. Brian is taken to a local hotel. No charges are filed. No crime is recorded. Just a note on the report, mental health break. But looking back, that moment wasn't a break. It was a fracture. One that would soon become irreversible. Chapter 2. Moab to Grand Teton. After the police encounter in Moab on August 12, Gabby and Brian spend the night apart, a temporary pause in a journey already beginning to fray at the edges. Gabby's night is spent alone in the van, parked outside of Arches National Park. The van, once a symbol of freedom, is now the only place she has left to feel safe. There are no friends around. No familiar places. Just an open sky above, and a growing tension she couldn't seem to shake. Brian checks into a motel paid for by a local domestic violence outreach group that partners with Moab police. His night is quiet, uneventful. He's offered shelter, comfort, and space. The next morning, they reunite. There's no record of their first conversation after the separation, no account of whether they argued, made up, or sat in silence. The next public trace of them is 5 days later, in Salt Lake City. August 17, Salt Lake City, Utah. On August 17, Gabby's father, Joe Petito, books her a hotel room in Salt Lake City. This isn't part of the original plan. According to reports, Gabby was supposed to be camping. Something made her leave the van. Something made her need space. The exact reason she stayed in the hotel alone? We still don't know. She checks in for one night. Then another. Then another. She's there for 6 days in total, some nights possibly alone, others possibly with Brian. Her final night is August 23. Then just like that they leave. The van heads north. Toward Grand Teton National Park. The towering peaks. The crisp air. The wild open spaces. It's one of Gabby's dream destinations. She'd always talked about it. The mountains. The hikes. The beauty. But when they arrive, things go quiet again. August 25, the last confirmed sighting. August 25 is the last confirmed sighting of Gabby Petito. That day, she and Brian are seen at a restaurant in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Mary Piglett's Tex-Mex. Witnesses later say the encounter was strange. Brian was agitated, aggressive. He argued with the hostess, paced around the restaurant, stormed in and out. Gabby apologized repeatedly. She was embarrassed, visibly upset. She said almost nothing during the meal. He said too much. Afterward, Gabby sends her last known Instagram post a photo from the Monarch mural in Ogden, Utah. The caption simply reads, "Happy Halloween." The date doesn't match. The location is out of place. Her followers notice the inconsistency. The tone of the post doesn't feel like her. There's one more text sent to her mother on August 27. It says, "Can you help Stan? I just keep getting his voicemails and missed calls." Her mom, Nicole Schmidt, is immediately alarmed. Gabby never called her grandfather Stan. Something felt wrong. The tone was off. The words weren't hers. 2 days later, another text is sent from Gabby's phone. No service in Yosemite. But Gabby was never in Yosemite. She wasn't even in California. That text, like so many other pieces of this puzzle, doesn't belong. It's a digital breadcrumb, left by someone else. August 29, the hitchhiker account. Then comes a crucial detail, one that would later become a turning point in the timeline. Miranda Baker, a college student, is driving near Coulter Bay Village in Grand Teton National Park on August 29. She and her boyfriend pick up a hitchhiker, a young man in his 20s, clean-cut, calm. He introduces himself as Brian. Says he's been camping alone while his partner stayed in their van working on social media content. Says they'd been camping near Snake River. Miranda says Brian offered them gas money to take him as far as Jackson. But when she mentions they're heading south, not toward the van, he panics. Demands to get out of the car. Offers no explanation. She drops him near the Jackson Dam. Just, gone. She reports the incident after learning Brian was a person of interest in a missing persons case. Her story lines up with the timeline, but raises more questions than it answers. Why was Brian hitchhiking alone? Where was Gabby? Why was he so eager to escape the ride? August 30th, the last text. August 30th. The final message from Gabby's phone. No service in Yosemite. Gabby's family, hundreds of miles away, receive the message. At first, they believe it. Cell service in national parks can be patchy. It makes sense, until it doesn't. Because Gabby wasn't in Yosemite. She never made it there. The digital trail ends there. No more photos. No more posts. No more texts. Just a void where once there was a voice. Chapter 3. Brian returns alone. September 1, 2021. Northport, Florida. The Petito family is still waiting for a phone call. A photo. A post. Anything. Gabby's father checks his phone every hour. Her mother rereads their last messages, zooms in on Instagram photos, looking for anything out of place. It's been 5 days since the last text. They're trying to trust the silence. Trying to believe she's just out of service. That she's camping. That everything is fine. But that same day, without a word to anyone, Brian Laundrie pulls into his parents' driveway in Gabby's white Ford van. Alone. No press. No panic. No missing person report. Just silence. He walks into the house. Closes the door. And the van where Gabby lived, filmed, traveled, and possibly died, sits in the driveway like nothing happened. The van. The van is clean. Mostly. Later, law enforcement will find a hard drive. Clothes. A tent. But Gabby's personal items, her phone, her ID, her journal, aren't seen. No immediate sign of distress. No physical damage. Neighbors watch curiously but don't think much of it. Brian's back. That's all they know. But behind the scenes, the Petito family is spiraling. Gabby hasn't called. She hasn't posted. She hasn't checked in. And now, they can't reach Brian either. Nicole Schmidt, Gabby's mother, starts calling. Then texting. Then emailing. Nothing. She messages Brian's parents, Christopher and Roberta Laundrie. Pleads with them to respond. Where's Gabby? Have you seen her? The Laundries say nothing. Days pass. Still nothing. September 11, the report. 10 days after Brian returns, the Petito family finally calls the police. Gabby is reported missing. The case is now official. Northport police knock on the Laundrie's door that evening. Brian's home. His parents are home. But they refuse to speak. They hand over the name and number of their attorney. No statement. No cooperation. Investigators ask, "Where is Gabby?" The only answer they get, "Our lawyer will be in touch." Public pressure builds. September 13th. 2 days later, Brian's attorney issues a statement. On the advice of counsel, Mr. Laundrie is not speaking on this matter. The internet erupts. True crime forums. Reddit threads. TikTok sleuths. Everyone is asking the same question. Why would an innocent man stay silent? Protesters show up outside the Laundrie home. They hold signs. They chant Gabby's name. They shout through bullhorns. "Where is she? Why won't you talk?" News crews line the street. Cameras roll 24/7. The house becomes a fortress. No one enters. No one leaves. The silence deafening. Brian's behavior. In those early days, people begin to dissect every known interaction between Brian and Gabby. The Moab bodycam footage is reanalyzed. His mannerisms. His deflection. His calmness. His words. Experts weigh in. Behavior analysts. Domestic violence advocates. They notice things: how Gabby blames herself, apologizes constantly, minimizes the conflict. Brian, meanwhile, appears composed. Smiling. Almost annoyed by the police presence. Public sentiment shifts hard. Gabby, once a face on a missing persons poster, is now a national name. A symbol. A question mark. September 14, and then he's gone. On September 14th, Brian tells his parents he's going for a hike. He takes a backpack and leaves for the Carlton Reserve, a vast 24,000-acre nature preserve near their home. Known for its dense woods, wetlands, and wildlife. It's the last time anyone sees him. His parents don't report him missing that day. Or the next. Not until September 17, 3 days later. When they do, the story begins to crack. The man at the center of a national case, the one person who could explain what happened to Gabby, has now disappeared. A nation watches. By this point, the entire country is watching. News channels run hourly updates. True crime YouTubers stream for hours. The hashtag Gabby Petito trends in multiple countries. Drone footage of the Laundrie home. Footprints in the preserve. Analysis of his Spotify playlist. Nothing is too small, too irrelevant. Everyone wants the truth. But the truth is buried in silence. Brian isn't talking. His parents aren't talking. And Gabby, she's still missing. Chapter 4. The search for Gabby. When someone goes missing, every hour matters. Every minute lost is a piece of the trail that slips away, washed clean by time, by weather, by silence. And by now Gabby Petito had been missing for more than 2 weeks. But finally, her name was on everyone's lips. The digital trail. September 18th. The FBI, local authorities, and volunteers began combing through the limited data they had. Gabby's phone had gone silent days ago. Her credit cards weren't used. Her GPS tracker was either shut off or destroyed. All they had were memories. Sightings. Her last Instagram post. The restaurant. The text about Stan. And then, something more tangible. A couple, Jen and Kyle Bethune, had been traveling through Grand Teton National Park in late August. They'd documented their trip on YouTube, uploading raw footage from their dash cam as they drove through the Spread Creek dispersed camping area. On September 19th, they went back and looked again. And there, frozen in time, partially hidden by the trees, was a familiar white van. Parked off the dirt road. Alone. Still. No one in sight. The license plate was blurry. But the sticker on the roof rack, the bumper saw, matched. It was Gabby's van. Authorities narrowed their search. Spread Creek search. That morning, teams deployed to the area northeast of Jackson, Wyoming. Spread Creek is wide, remote, and hauntingly quiet. Pines and birches stretch in all directions. Wildlife roam freely. The campsite sits in the shadows of the Tetons, miles from cell service. If something happened here, right, would be easy to hide. Easy to miss. The search was methodical. K-9 units. Drones. Ground crews. They moved carefully, not just looking for a missing person, but for a piece of evidence that could explain everything. That same afternoon, at 4:45 p.m., they found something. Near the edge of a creek bed, under scattered brush and earth, the partial remains of a young woman. Nearby, a pair of hiking boots. Scraps of clothing. Disturbed soil. No signs of an animal attack. Days later, the remains were confirmed through dental records. It was Gabby. The world reacts. September 21st. The official autopsy confirmed what many feared. Gabby Petito died by homicide. The manner, blunt force trauma and strangulation. Estimated date of death: 3 to 4 weeks before her body was found. Which meant, by the time Brian Laundrie returned to Florida on September 1st, Gabby had already been dead. The grief rippled outward. Strangers left flowers at the Laundrie home. Thousands held vigils across the country. Parents looked at their daughters and held them a little closer. Women online shared their own stories of abuse, of manipulation, of being silenced and doubted. Gabby's story had become more than a case. It had become a mirror. A reckoning. The Laundries still silent. As the country mourned, one thing remained unchanged. Brian Laundrie was missing. His parents silent. His attorney silent. And yet, they held the key. To what happened in those final hours. To what was said. To how Gabby's final days unfolded. But no answers came. And the search for Brian was just beginning. Chapter 5. The Manhunt. Brian Laundrie was no longer a person of interest. He was a fugitive. The last confirmed sighting of him was September 13th, when he left his parents' home in Northport, Florida, and drove to the Carlton Reservoir, a dense, swampy wilderness sprawling over 24,000 acres. Dangerous terrain. Alligators. Snakes. Waist-deep mud. No cell reception. According to his parents, Brian left with a backpack and said he needed to clear his head. But 3 days passed before they reported him missing. 3 days, in which anything could have happened. The search begins. Law enforcement mobilized quickly, launching a massive search operation in the Carlton Reserve. Dozens of officers, swamp buggies, airboats, and K-9 units swept the murky forest for signs of Brian. Every leaf overturned. Every trail followed. But the reserve was relentless. Days turned into weeks. And not a single trace of him was found. No shoes. No scent. No dropped phone or note. Just dense, damp emptiness. Public suspicion grows. While authorities searched the wetlands, the public turned its eyes elsewhere, the Laundrie home. Protesters camped out on the street. Night after night, they shouted through megaphones. "Why won't you talk? What do you know?" The home remained locked tight. No interviews. No statements. No emotion. Reporters caught brief footage of Christopher and Roberta Laundrie doing yard work, calmly running errands as if their son wasn't the subject of a nationwide manhunt. And still, they claimed to know nothing. Internet investigators mobilize. On Reddit, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube the case exploded. Armchair detectives dissected every detail. Where Brian liked to hike. What trails he knew. What he posted on Spotify. What books he read. Some claimed they spotted him on hiking cams in the Appalachian Trail. Others swore he was hiding in Mexico. Or on a boat. Or that his parents were helping him escape justice. Even Dog the bounty hunter got involved, showing up at the Laundrie home with TV cameras and a promise to track Brian down. But no one, not even the FBI, could confirm where Brian Laundrie actually was. A warrant is issued. September 23. A federal warrant was issued for Brian's arrest, not for homicide, but for unauthorized use of a debit card. Between August 30 and September 1, he allegedly used someone else's account to withdraw over $1,000. The card? Later confirmed to belong to Gabby. It was a turning point. The warrant gave law enforcement the power to detain him on site. The manhunt shifted from a missing person case to a federal fugitive search. But the question remained. Was Brian Laundrie alive? The reserve, a dead end. Weeks passed. Still, no sightings. No signs. Investigators combed through tip lines, drone footage, and sonar scans of the Carlton Reserve. But nothing credible emerged. Some experts began to doubt he was ever there. Others believed he may have taken his own life. Or escaped entirely. The terrain made either possibility hard to prove. And the Laundries? Still said nothing. No televised plea for their son to come home. No heartbreak shown for Gabby. No emotion at all. October 20, a discovery. After more than a month of silence, something changed. That morning, Brian's parents notified law enforcement that they planned to search the Carlton Reserve themselves, specifically, an area within the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. Strangely, within hours of their arrival, something was found. Under a cluster of palmettos, partially submerged in a marshy patch of land, authorities located a dry bag. Near it, a notebook. A backpack. And about 20 feet away, skeletal remains. Later confirmed through dental records. It was Brian Laundrie. Chapter 6. What the notebook revealed. October 21. Just a day after Brian Laundrie's remains were confirmed, investigators began the difficult task of piecing together the story of how he had died and why. They turned to the objects found near his body, a backpack, a dry bag, and a notebook. The notebook, a black-bound journal. Unopened. It wasn't long before it was clear, this was the last chapter of Brian Laundrie's story. His final thoughts. The final writings. The notebook, though damaged by water, revealed parts of Brian's inner world. In the pages, investigators found fragmented confessions. Not just about Gabby, but about the breakdown of their relationship. There were mentions of violence. Of arguing. Of emotional turbulence. But most chilling of all was the final entry, written in Brian's own hand. I ended her life. I know what I did was wrong. But I couldn't live with myself after what happened. I couldn't face the world anymore. It was a statement of guilt, but also one of desperation. Of a man who couldn't undo what he'd done. Some questions remained, of course. What exactly had transpired that night? What had driven Brian to kill Gabby? There were no answers in the notebook. Only his words, a confession, but a hollow one. Brian Laundrie never made it to trial. He never stood before a judge. And Gabby Petito? She would never get justice in the way we think of it. Not from a courtroom. The aftermath and reflections. The world watched. The tragedy of Gabby's disappearance and death became a national story. A stark reminder of the many missing persons cases that go unnoticed every day. Gabby's story, however, made an impact because it reached so many. The pain her family endured was clear in every interview, every statement they made. Her parents, Joe and Nicole, found their voice and raised awareness for other families. They used their daughter's story to demand Changetto ask for more focus on missing people, especially women. Gabby's mother, Nicole, started the Gabby Petito Foundation, an organization that works to help find missing persons and offer support to families navigating similar heartbreak. Gabby's story did not end in silence. Her legacy became one of action. One of making sure others didn't fall through the cracks. Unanswered questions. But even as the world moved on, unanswered questions still lingered. Why did Brian Laundrie's parents choose silence over helping authorities find their son? Why didn't they speak up sooner? What pushed a man so deeply into a spiral that he would choose to take someone's life, especially someone he had once professed to love? The tragedy of Gabby Petito's story may have reached a conclusion. But the questions it raised still remain. Could her death have been prevented? Could someone have noticed the signs earlier? These are questions we all must consider, because at the core of it all, Gabby's story is not just a tragedy, it is a reminder. A reminder that we must do more to protect those around us. To listen to their voices. To acknowledge the signs of abuse and manipulation. To step up when someone is in danger. Gabby's legacy. Gabby Petito's name has become synonymous with loss but also with a call for change. For awareness. Her case sparked conversations about domestic violence, toxic relationships, and the hidden lives many people lead behind closed doors. Gabby's family, in their grief, chose to honor their daughter by advocating for others. They channeled their pain into something powerful. A force for good. And though we may never know every detail of what transpired between Gabby and Brian that final summer, we know this: Gabby's story is far from forgotten. It's a story that continues to inspire, to raise awareness, and to demand justice for those who are still missing. Those who have no voice. The stories we haven't yet heard. Gabby Petito's name will live on, and so will her fight for justice. The case of Gabby Petito may have reached its grim conclusion with Brian Laundrie's death, but it was never just about one man or one woman. It was a stark reminder to us all: things are often not as they seem. Behind the most beautiful images, the happiest moments, there can be darkness. And sometimes, that darkness can consume everything. But we must remember Gabby's story changed the way we look at missing persons cases. It pushed us to care more, to pay closer attention, to question more. And in the end, isn't that what we should take from all of this? The need to pay attention. To speak up. To protect one another. Gabby Petito's story is more than a tragedy. It's a lesson. A warning. A call to action. Gabby's story is far from over. Her legacy has sparked a movement, and it's one we all must carry forward. But there are still so many questions left to answer. If you want to stay up to date on the latest true crime stories and dive deeper into cases like Gabby's, make sure to hit that subscribe button now. Turn on your notifications, and don't miss out on the truth that's waiting to be uncovered. If you found this story moving, share it with others, and let's keep the conversation going. Because when we stop asking questions, we stop protecting the ones who need us most.